Hello there, my name is Edward, and tonight I'm going to tell you a quiet story. A story about Marcus Aurelius and the gentle strength of Stoic wisdom, told slowly so you can rest. There's nothing you need to understand perfectly, nothing you need to remember, nothing you need to solve. Just listen and let the night unfold. Imagine Rome at the edge of evening. The sun has already slipped behind the hills, leaving behind a sky washed in deep blue and fading gold. The warmth of the day is beginning to soften. Stone streets which held the sun's heat for hours now slowly cool beneath the quiet air. A few lanterns flicker to life along the pathways, and walking calmly through the dim glow is a man wrapped in a simple cloak, not surrounded by guards, not speaking to crowds, just walking. This man is Marcus Aurelius, an emperor, yes, but also a student of his own mind. He does not walk quickly. His steps are unhurried, measured. The soft sound of sandals brushing against stone echoes gently in the evening stillness. Around him, Rome grows quieter. Market stalls have closed. Merchants have gone home. Voices fade into the distance. And in this growing silence, Marcus reflects, not on power, not on conquest, but on character. Earlier in his life he wrote something simple, something deeply human. He began his private journal not with advice, but with gratitude. He wrote of the people who shaped him. From my grandfather, he said, I learned good morals and control of my temper. From my mother, modesty and generosity. From my teachers, discipline and the love of truth. As he walks now in the soft dark of Rome, he remembers these lessons. He understands something important. No one becomes calm alone. No one becomes wise alone. We are shaped gently by those who show us steadiness. The night air brushes cool against his face, not cold, just enough to remind him he is alive. Above him the first stars begin to appear, small points of light, scattered across a vast sky. Marcus often reminded himself to look up, to remember how small one life is in the scale of time, and yet how meaningful a single moment of virtue can be. He does not think about tomorrow's problems. He does not rehearse conversations. He does not chase perfection. Instead, he focuses on something far quieter, his own response to the present moment. He once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Pause there for a moment. Not outside events, not the past, not what others say, not what tomorrow might bring. Only this, the small inner space where you choose your response. As Marcus walks, a faint breeze moves between the columns of a nearby courtyard. A torch flame flickers. Somewhere in the distance, a door closes softly. Rome continues, without urgency, and Marcus continues, without resistance. He understands something that many forget, that disturbance does not come from events themselves. It comes from our judgment about them. If something unsettles you, he wrote, it is not the thing itself, but your opinion of it, and opinions can be softened. gently, like a clenched hand, slowly opening. Tonight, you do not need to change your life. You do not need to solve your worries. You are simply walking beside a man who learned, over many years, to loosen his grip on what he could not control. His steps grow slower now. The sky deepens further into night. Lantern light pulls softly on the stone beneath your feet. And for this moment, there is nowhere else to be, nothing else required, just a quiet rhythm of footsteps and the steady presence of a mind at peace with what is and what is not. We will continue walking slowly, and as we do, the night will grow quieter still. The streets grow narrower now. The wide stone roads of the marketplace give way to quieter passages, where the echo of each step feels softer, more contained. Marcus turns down one of these smaller paths. A lantern hangs beside a doorway, its light steady but subdued. The flame moves only slightly in the still air. You breathe in slowly, not as a technique, not as an exercise, simply because breathing is what the body does when it is not rushed. Marcus often reminded himself of something simple, that the present moment is enough. He wrote that each of us lives only now, this small slice of time. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, but this moment is real. As he walks, he does not carry the weight of yesterday's decisions. He does not reach forward toward tomorrow's responsibilities. He stays with the sensation of his steps, the quiet contact between sandal and stone, the coolness of evening against his skin. And in this steady presence, his mind remains light. There is a tendency in the human mind to reach outward, to anticipate, to prepare, to replay. But Marcus trained himself differently. When an anxious thought appeared, he did not fight it. He examined it. He would say gently, "You are only an impression, just an appearance in the mind, not a command, not a prediction, not a certainty, only an impression." And impressions can be questioned. If a thought says, "This will go wrong," you would ask, "Is that within my control?" If the answer was no, you would let it pass, not with force, but with understanding. The breeze shifts slightly now, moving between the buildings, a soft rustle of fabric. A distant murmur fades into silence. The city, like the mind, settles when not provoked. Marcus understood that most suffering does not come from events themselves. It comes from the stories we attach to them. He wrote that if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Your estimate, a quiet word. An estimate can change. An estimate can soften. An estimate can dissolve when examined calmly. They pass a small fountain now. Water flows in a steady rhythm, not loud, just consistent. Marcus pauses there for a moment, not because he is tired, but because stillness is something he values. He once reminded himself that the universe is change, and life is opinion. Change is constant, Opinion is optional. The water in the fountain does not resist its movement. It flows because that is its nature. And Marcus believed that human beings also have a nature, to act with reason, to act with fairness, to act with patience. When we move against our nature, we create friction. When we move with it, there is quiet. Above, the sky deepens further. More stars now. Small, steady lights scattered across vast darkness. Marcus often practiced what later came to be called the view from above. He would imagine rising higher and higher, above the city, above the land, looking down at human life from a great height. From there, arguments seemed smaller, embarrassment seemed lighter, worries almost invisible. Not because they were meaningless, but because they were temporary. He reminded himself that countless people had lived before him, and countless would live after, each one carrying concerns that felt urgent, and yet all passing in time. This was not meant to make life bleak. It was meant to make it gentle. If everything changes, then this worry too will change. If all things pass, then this feeling will pass. Marcus resumes walking. His pace is even slower now. The rhythm of his steps steady, almost meditative. You once wrote that nowhere you can go is more peaceful than within your own soul. You do not need a different city. You do not need different circumstances. You can retreat inward, not to escape life, but to meet it calmly. And so as he walks through Rome, he carries that retreat within him. The outer world continues, but the inner world remains composed. A door closes somewhere behind them. The sound is soft, final, and then silence returns. Marcus does not chase silence. He allows it, just as he allows thought, just as he allows change. He understands something that overthinking often forgets. You do not need to solve every thought. You only need to decide which ones deserve your attention, and many do not. The night grows cooler, the city grows quieter, and Marcus continues, untroubled, steady, aware. Not because life is simple, but because he has practiced letting it be what it is. And as you walk beside him, the same invitation is there, to loosen your grip just slightly, to allow your mind to soften, to remain here in this small, quiet moment. The walk continues, and the night grows deeper still. The streets narrow again. Here the stones are older, worn smooth by years of quiet footsteps. There are no lamps burning now, only moonlight, pale and steady, resting softly along the ground. Marcus walks without urgency. His shoulders are loose, his breath even. He once reminded himself that if you seek tranquility, do less, or rather, do only what is necessary. Much of the mind's exhaustion comes from what is unnecessary, imagined futures, replayed conversations, conversations, invisible arguments. But this moment requires none of that. Only walking, only breathing, only being here. A faint echo follows each step, then disappears. Marcus allows the silence to remain untouched. He understood that not every thought requires engagement. The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts, he wrote. If you dwell on irritation, you become irritation. If you dwell on fear, you become fear. So he trained himself to choose carefully what he entertained. When a troubling thought appeared, he would examine it calmly. Is this within my control? If not, release it. If yes, act simply. No drama, no spiraling, only clarity. The moon hangs higher now. Shadows soften, edges blur. The world appears gentler at night. Marcus turns into a quieter passage. No voices remain, only the cool night air brushing lightly against his skin. He reflects on another lesson. Human beings are made for cooperation, he wrote. Like feet, like hands, like eyelids. To work against one another is unnatural. So when he encountered anger or insult, he reminded himself, they act from ignorance, not understanding, just as he once lacked understanding. Resentment harms the one who carries it. Forgiveness restores balance, not because others deserve it, but because peace does. Somewhere in the distance, a wooden shutter moves softly, then settles. Silence returns. Marcus feels the coolness of the air without judgment. Cold is simply cold. Delay is simply delay. A mistake is simply a moment. It is judgment that multiplies discomfort. He wrote that if you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself, but your opinion of it. And opinions can change, gently, without force. Ahead, a small open courtyard appears. Plain stone, no ornament, just stillness. Marcus steps inside and rests his hand against the wall. Solid, unmoving. He often reflected that everything changes. The body changes. The world changes. Reputation changes. But character is shaped by choice. He could not control how long he lived. He could not control how history remembered him. He could control whether he acted with justice, with patience, with restraint. And so he returned to one simple question. Is this within my power? If yes, act. If no, let it pass. There was freedom in that boundary. He sits briefly on the low stone edge. The night feels deeper now, almost suspended. He remembers another line he wrote. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Not perfect, not flawless, simply intentional. Speak honestly, act fairly, accept what arrives, release what does not belong to you. The mind can remain upright, he believed, even when circumstances shift, like a flame bending in wind, but not extinguished. Marcus stands again, slower now. The city sleeps fully. No footsteps, no closing doors, only the quiet rhythm of his own movement. He feels no need to arrive anywhere. The walking itself is a practice, the steady placing of one foot before the other, the steady returning to the present moment. He knows he could leave life at any time, and so he does not waste this one in agitation. He chooses composure. He chooses clarity. He chooses acceptance. The streets grow darker, the world softer, and as he continues forward, deeper into the stillness, the mind grows lighter still, less crowded, less urgent. The night holds everything gently, and the walk continues, unhurried, into deeper calm. Marcus steps beyond the last row of houses. The city begins to thin behind him. Stone gives way to earth beneath his sandals. The sound of his steps changes, softer now. Ahead lies a small open stretch of land at the edge of Rome. No walls, no doorways, only moonlight, resting quietly over grass and low trees. He walks into the open space without hesitation. The sky feels wider here, the stars brighter. He lifts his gaze slightly. He often reminded himself to consider the vastness of existence, to see how small one lifetime is against the sweep of time. Not to feel insignificant, but to feel released. When you understand scale, urgency softens. The argument from earlier in the day, the worry about tomorrow, the silent fear of what might happen, all of it becomes smaller when placed beneath the stars. He once wrote that all things are in change. You, the city, the empire, the very ground beneath your feet. Nothing remains fixed. And if nothing remains fixed, then no discomfort is permanent. No anxiety is eternal. Everything moves. Everything passes. A light breeze moves through the grass. It brushes faintly against the hem of his cloak. Marcus notices it without analyzing it. Just sensation. Simple. Neutral. You believe that much of suffering comes from adding meaning when none is required. A sound is only a sound. A sensation is only a sensation. The mind is what adds story. And story can be quieted. He wrote that objective judgment, now at this moment, frees us. See things plainly, without exaggeration, without fear, without anticipation. The breeze moves, then stops. The night remains still. He walks slowly along the edge of the field. His breathing is even, unforced. He reflects on discipline, not harsh discipline, but gentle steadiness. You believe the mind could be trained like a muscle. Each time you release a useless worry, you strengthen calm. Each time you refuse to react in anger, you strengthen clarity. Each time you accept what you cannot control, you strengthen peace. Character is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in quiet choices, repeated often, unseen by others. The outline of Rome behind him grows faint. The city seems smaller from here, less imposing. He practices what we now call the view from above, imagining himself rising higher, above the field, above the rooftops, above the empire itself. From that height, human concerns blur, not meaningless, just temporary. He wrote that fame after death is no different from obscurity. Both fade, both dissolve. If reputation disappears, then anxiety about reputation loosens. If praise fades, then criticism fades as well. What remains is how you conduct yourself now. This breath, this step, this quiet moment. An owl calls once in the distance, then silence again. Marcus does not imagine threat. He does not invent danger. It is simply night continuing. He once reminded himself that fear often arises from imagining what is not present. But if you remain here, fully here, fear loses ground. You have power over your mind, not outside events. The outside world may shift without warning. Weather may change. People may misunderstand. Plans may unravel. But the ruling principle within you can remain steady. Not rigid, steady. Like the center of a wheel that turns without strain. He slows almost to stillness, standing beneath the open sky. He feels the ground supporting his weight, solid, reliable. He reflects briefly on mortality. You could leave life at any moment. Let that guide your thoughts, not as threat, as clarity. If time is uncertain, resentment wastes it. If life is brief, worry consumes it. But this breath is here. This moment is here. And it asks for nothing complicated. Only presence. Only composure. After a long pause, Marcus turns gently back toward the city. The rooftops are dark shapes against the sky. He walks toward them without urgency, slower than before. The night feels deeper now, quieter. His mind feels lighter, less crowded. He carries nothing unnecessary with him. No argument, no anticipation. Only the steady practice of meeting reality as it is. The earth beneath his feet remains soft. The air remains cool. The stars remain distant and calm. And the walk continues, unhurried, untroubled, moving gently back toward the sleeping city and deeper still into peace. Marcus approaches the city once more. From the open field, the buildings appear darker now, quiet shapes resting beneath the sky. There is no movement at the gates, no guards speaking. Even the restless energy of Rome has surrendered to sleep. He walks through the entrance slowly. The stone beneath his feet returns, familiar, solid. The air feels slightly warmer within the walls, but still calm. He notices the difference without preference. Warmer is simply warmer. Cooler was simply cooler. He once reminded himself that you can adapt to anything if you stop demanding that it be otherwise. Demand creates tension. Acceptance releases it. The streets are nearly silent. A single torch burns low in the distance, its flame small and steady. Marcus walks toward it. He reflects on something he practiced often, the art of returning inward. You wrote that nowhere you can go is more peaceful than your own soul. Not a physical place, not a room, not a retreat, but an inner position, a way of seeing. You can withdraw there at any time, he said, and when you do, you find proportion, clarity, calm. You did not mean escape from responsibility. You meant stepping back from reaction, from panic, from unnecessary commentary. He passes the low-burning torch. Its light briefly touches his face, then fades behind him. He thinks of the day that has ended. Meetings, decisions, voices, all now dissolved into memory. He once wrote that time is like a river. Events flow past, carried forward without pause. To cling to what has already passed is to exhaust yourself. The river does not turn back, so neither should the mind. What happened today has already moved downstream. It cannot be altered now. It can only be accepted, learned from, released. A narrow staircase appears ahead, leading to a raised walkway between buildings. Marcus climbs slowly, not because it is difficult, but because there is no need to rush upward. From the walkway, the streets below seem smaller, the silence deeper. He rests his hand briefly against the cool stone railing. He reflects on restraint, not suppression, restraint, the ability to pause between impression and response. He once reminded himself that when something angers you, you always have the option not to add to it. An insult arrives. You may choose not to react. A delay occurs. You may choose not to resent it. A mistake happens. You may choose not to magnify it. Between event and reaction lies freedom, and freedom grows stronger each time it is used. He descends the other side of the walkway. The path now leads toward a quiet courtyard within the imperial grounds. Not grand, not ceremonial, just open stone and shadow. He steps inside and stops at the center. The world feels suspended here. No breeze, no sound, only stillness. He closes his eyes briefly. He feels the weight of his body balanced evenly. He feels the rhythm of his breath. He does not attempt to slow it. It slows naturally when the mind is not agitated. He reflects on another line he wrote to himself. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not the quantity, not their speed, their quality. If thoughts are harsh, life feels harsh. If thoughts are measured, life feels measured. If thoughts are calm, life softens. He understood that peace is not given. It is practiced, moment by moment, choice by choice. He opens his eyes. The courtyard remains unchanged. Stone beneath him, night above him. He does not need the world to shift in order to feel steady. ease to align himself with reason, with fairness, with acceptance. He once reminded himself to receive without pride and let go without attachment. Praise may arrive, let it pass. Criticism may arrive, let it pass. Pleasure may arrive, let it pass. Everything moves, nothing stays, and resisting movement creates suffering. Marcus begins walking again, slower than before. The path ahead leads deeper into the quiet interior of the grounds. The night has reached its fullest depth now. There is no trace of evening left, only darkness softened by moonlight. His thoughts are fewer now, more spacious. He carries nothing unresolved, only the steady awareness of this step, and the next, and the next. He knows the world will begin again soon. Morning will come, voices will rise, responsibilities will return. But not yet. For now there is only this stillness, this composure, this quiet understanding that what lies outside him may shift, but what lies within him can remain steady. And so the walk continues, deeper into silence, deeper into calm, unhurried, untroubled, almost weightless in the quiet of the night. Marcus steps into the smaller inner courtyard. The air feels different here, still, almost held in place between the surrounding walls. Moonlight barely reaches the center, leaving most of the space in soft shadow. His sandals make a muted sound against the stone, quieter than before. The echo fades almost instantly. He slows again. There is no need for pace. The night has reached its deepest hour. He notices the temperature on his skin, cool along his hands, slightly warmer where the air has not moved. A faint brush of fabric against his wrist as his cloak shifts. Nothing sharp, nothing urgent, just sensation. He allows each feeling to exist without naming it good or bad. He once reminded himself to receive without pride and let go without attachment. The same applies to sensation. It arrives, it fades, no resistance required. A narrow pool rests at the far side of the courtyard. The water is still. Unlike the fountain earlier, this one does not move. It reflects the moon in a soft, steady oval. He walks toward it slowly. As he passes along the edge, he hears the faintest ripple, not from wind, but from his own movement disturbing the air. Small cause, small effect. He reflects on how often the mind disturbs itself in the same way. A single thought appears, then attention magnifies it, then fear stirs the surface further. Soon the mind feels turbulent, but if left undisturbed, water settles, and so does thought. He once wrote that the mind can remain calm and convert every obstacle into fuel, not by force, but by steadiness. A wave breaks against rock. The rock does not chase the wave. It remains. A soft breeze slips briefly over the courtyard wall. It moves across the surface of the pool, creating a gentle shimmer. Then it passes, The air grows still again. He feels the slight cooling across his face as it touches him. Then nothing. He does not wish him back. He does not resent its leaving. This is the discipline he practiced, to accept arrival, to accept departure, without tightening the mind. The night is almost silent now. Even the distant sounds of the city have faded completely. He can hear his own breathing more clearly, slow, measured. He notices the rise of his chest, the fall. He does not attempt to control it. It regulates itself when undisturbed. He once wrote that you can withdraw into yourself at any moment, not to escape, but to recollect, to return to the ruling principle, the part of you that chooses. You stand still for several breaths, feet grounded, weight evenly balanced. The stone beneath him feels firm, reliable, unmoving, the body supported without effort. He reflects on mortality again, but more softly now. You could leave life at any moment. Let that guide what remains. If this breath were the last, agitation would be wasteful. If this moment were final, resentment would feel unnecessary. Clarity would feel simple. He does not dwell on the thought. He lets it settle, like the water in the pool returning to stillness. He begins walking again, slower than before, across the courtyard, toward a narrow doorway at the far side. The shadow deepens as he approaches. The moonlight fades behind him. His eyes adjust. The darkness feels gentle, not threatening, just absence of light. He once reminded himself to see things plainly. A shadow is only shadow. Darkness is only darkness. It is the story added to it that creates fear. Without story, it is neutral. He steps through the doorway. The air beyond feels slightly warmer, more enclosed. The sounds of the night grow even softer. Now there is almost nothing to hear, except the quiet rhythm of his movement. The walk has become internal, less about the city, more about the mind. Each step lighter, each thought fewer. The night no longer feels vast. It feels contained, held. And as he continues forward, deeper into the quiet interior, the mind settles further still, not forced, not emptied, simply steady. And the walk continues, inward. Marcus steps into a long interior corridor. The walls are close here, stone on either side, smooth from age. The air feels warmer than outside, gently still, untouched by wind. His footsteps soften further. A low, hollow echo follows each step, then dissolves into quiet. The moonlight no longer reaches him, only a faint amber glow from a distant oil lamp at the far end of the corridor. It burns steadily without flicker. He walks toward it slowly. The sound of his breathing is clearer now, a quiet rhythm in the enclosed space. Inhale, exhale, unforced, even. He once wrote that the mind, when withdrawn into itself, finds refuge, not not a physical refuge, but a shift in perspective. You can retreat inward at any moment, he said, and restore yourself. You do not need silence outside. You need discipline inside. He allows his attention to settle inward, less on the stone walls, less on the lamp ahead, more on the simple steadiness of awareness. The corridor narrows slightly. His cloak brushes faintly against the wall as he walks. A soft fabric sound, then stillness again. He feels the warmth of the enclosed air against his face, a subtle contrast to the cool night outside. He does not prefer one over the other. Preference creates tension. Acceptance creates ease. He once reminded himself not to demand that events conform to his wishes. Instead, wish them to happen as they do happen, and life will flow more smoothly. The warmth is simply warmth. The quiet is simply quiet. Nothing more needs to be added. He reaches the oil lamp. Its flame moves gently in the slight movement of air created by his passing. For a moment, light touches his face. Then he moves beyond it, and the corridor grows dimmer. He reflects on something he practiced daily, preparing his mind in advance. At dawn, he would tell himself, "Today you will meet people who are impatient, selfish, distracted. They act this way because they do not understand what is good or bad." Knowing this, you would not be surprised by it. And what does not surprise you rarely disturbs you. Expectation shapes reaction. If you expect difficulty, you meet it calmly. If you expect perfection, you are constantly unsettled. The corridor opens slowly into a small chamber, plain, unadorned, the ceiling low, the air steady and warm. This is a private space, not ceremonial, not grand, just quiet. He steps inside and allows the silence to settle fully around him. No wind, no distant city sounds, only stillness. He feels the weight of his body evenly balanced on the stone floor, the steady presence of gravity holding him in place, the gentle rise and fall of breath. He closes his eyes for a moment. He once wrote that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not their number, not their speed, their quality. If thoughts are chaotic, life feels chaotic. If thoughts are disciplined, life steadies. He does not try to empty his mind. He simply notices what arises and allows it to pass without attachment. A memory flickers briefly, then fades. A fragment of tomorrow appears, then dissolves. He does not follow either. He remains, steady, present. The chamber feels warmer now, or perhaps his body has adjusted. He senses the faint texture of air across his skin, the quiet hum of enclosed space, almost like silence has weight. He reflects on impermanence again. Everything outside this chamber is in motion. The empire, the seasons, the bodies of men. But this moment, right now, feels complete, whole, enough. He once reminded himself that you have power over your mind, not outside events. The world beyond these walls will continue to move unpredictably. But within this space, within this awareness, there is steadiness. He stands there for several slow breaths. No urgency, no agenda, just quiet presence. The walk that began beneath fading sunlight has led here, not to a destination, but to an inward center. And from this center he understands the world may shift, but the ruling principle can remain calm. He opens his eyes slowly. The chamber remains unchanged. Stone walls, soft shadow, still air. He turns gently toward the doorway at the opposite side. There is one final stretch of the night to walk, and as he steps forward, the quiet within him remains steady, carried with him, unbroken. And the journey continues, deeper into composure. Marcus steps out of the chamber and into a quieter passage beyond. The air here is cooler again, as though the building is beginning to release the warmth it held during the day. A thin draft moves along the corridor, barely noticeable, but enough to make the lamp flames lean gently in their holders. He walks slowly, letting his eyes adjust to the dimness. Ahead a door stands slightly open, and from it comes a softer kind of darkness, the open night. He passes through. Outside, the imperial grounds are almost completely still. The garden paths are pale lines under the moon. Olive leaves glint faintly, then disappear as he moves. Somewhere far off, a single dog barks once, then stops, as if it remembered the night. Marcus turns toward a narrow walkway that runs along an outer wall. Here the stone is colder beneath his feet. The coolness rises through the soles of his sandals, grounding him. He rests a hand briefly on the wall as he walks, feeling the rough texture against his palm. Solid, real, not imagined. He once wrote that it is not the things themselves that trouble us, but our opinions about them. And he learned to anchor his mind in what was real. Stone beneath hand, air on skin, breath moving quietly. When attention stays with reality, imagination loses its grip. At the end of the walkway, he reaches a small watch point. Not a tower, just an open corner where the wall looks out over sleeping streets. From here, Rome is a dark sea of rooftops. Only a few faint lights remain. The rest is shadow and quiet. Marcus pauses, looking outward. He does not seek reassurance. He seeks perspective. He reminds himself of duty. Not the heavy kind of duty that crushes the mind. A lighter duty. The duty to meet life with good character. He wrote that a person should do what nature demands, simply, without complaint. To do the work of a human being, to be just, to be calm, to be reasonable. Not because the world rewards it, because it is right, because it keeps the mind clean. A thought comes, perhaps of tomorrow's burdens, meetings, messages, decisions. He notices the thought like a distant sound. Then he asks quietly, the question he always returns to. Is this within my power right now? The answer is simple. Not now. Not in this hour. this breath. And so he releases it, not with force, with understanding. You once wrote that you should not let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you must, with the same weapons of reason you use today. So there is no need to meet it twice, not in imagination, not before it arrives. The night air cools his face, a faint scent of stone and earth. He breathes it in slowly, and as he exhales, the mind becomes quieter again. Below, a shutter closes somewhere in the city, soft as a whisper. A single sound, then silence returns. Marcus turns away from the lookout and begins walking back along the wall. His steps are slower than before, as though each step is less a movement through space and more a movement towards stillness. He reflects on something he wrote to himself with a kind of firmness. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. He does not argue with himself tonight. He does not negotiate. He simply chooses to be calm, to be patient, to be fair, even in his private thoughts, because private thoughts shape the mind, and the mind shapes a life. He leaves the wool path and returns to the garden. The trees stand quiet. The leaves barely move. Moonlight rests on the ground in soft patches. He walks between them with the care of someone not wanting to wake the world. The air feels heavier now, as if the night has deepened another layer. His breathing remains steady. The rhythm of footsteps and breath begins to blend. Step and breathe. Step and breathe. No counting, no effort, just a natural settling. Ahead, a small doorway waits, leading into a simpler corridor that will take him toward rest. And as Marcus approaches it, the thoughts of the day feel further away than ever. Not solved, not defeated, simply placed down, for now. And the night continues, quiet and patient, guiding the mind towards sleep. Marcus steps through the final doorway and into his quiet chamber. The door closes softly behind him. No echo, no urgency, only stillness. He removes his cloak and sets it aside without thought. The day has ended, not perfectly, not completely, but sufficiently. He understands something now with deep simplicity. The world will continue. The empire will move. Tomorrow will arrive in its own time. But this moment asks for nothing. He sits briefly at the edge of his bed, breath slow, shoulders relaxed, the mind no longer reaching outward. He once wrote that the mind can remain undisturbed when it chooses not to add judgment to events. And tonight, there is nothing to add, only acceptance, only quiet. He lies down. The darkness feels soft, safe, complete. And as the night holds him, there is no need to think further, no need to solve, no need to prepare. Just this breath, and the next, and the gentle understanding that you too can rest. The world can wait. Sleep now. Let the mind grow still, carry you the rest of the way.